here to present the paper titled Indigenous Knowledge and Visual Communication Converge to Improve Wellness in Malawi. I'm a member of an interdisciplinary group called Team Malawi at Virginia Tech, and we advocate for technology, education, art, and medicine in Malawi. Wrong direction. There we go. All right, got it. For the last 2 years, I've been working closely with the Malawi University of Science and Technology, and specifically students seeking a Bachelor of Arts in Indigenous Knowledge Systems and Practices. We have teamed up to improve women's health through an ongoing relationship with Dolo District Hospital, located near the Must campus. What you're seeing here is a cervical cancer screening clinic where we are trying to launch focused ultrasound technology as a diagnosis and treatment option for diseases like breast and cervical cancer, both of which have an unnecessarily high morbidity rate in Malawi due to low resources. This presentation is a case study in art as healthcare advocacy, professional development, and the power of Indigenous knowledge to connect innovative research with the people who need it most. Due to the length of this presentation debate, I invite you to read our full paper to learn about the many examples of how Indigenous knowledge improves wellness across the globe. Together, we embarked on a project to repair hand-painted murals addressing mother and baby care at the request of the Dolo District Hospital Administration. The first task was to ensure that the students were building technical art skills in the classroom by securing a robust palette of paint, multiple canvas types, and the capacity to capture themes important to the culture of sub-Saharan Africa. The second task was to ensure that the students could properly compose a public art proposal that could be presented to the Dolo District Hospital, outlining our plans for the repair of the murals. When the proposal was complete, the students led the conversation with the hospital administrators and quickly received their approval to begin work. Both the technical writing and the stakeholder meeting are examples of skills that these students might use in the future as they pursue careers as creative entrepreneurs. In May of 2024, they embarked on their first work days with the needed resources to paint murals. I'm lucky to work at Virginia Tech. Thank you to the College of Architecture, Arts, and Design, the School of Design, and a number of generous friends for providing funding to make this and future projects possible. Once on site, the students faced several challenges, including transitioning from working as individuals to working as a team to achieve this service learning project. At first, they worked to normalize painting styles across the project by repairing a text-based mural, requiring each student to paint with a steady hand and unified lettering. You can see an immediate improvement on the nearly illegible signage explaining 10 tips for successful breastfeeding. Other challenges they faced included learning to mix colors from the paints they had, which was previously limited in their coursework due to lack of materials. They perfected brush techniques and learned to paint on uneven surfaces. And they enjoyed working on large scales compared to the small canvases and wooden boards they had in class. At the end of the work session, they noted the immediate positive reaction from patients and hospital administration. Everyone was pleased. Patients commented about the joy they felt in seeing the bright colors, and the refreshed images made the staff feel pride in the hospital environment. During that first 3-day weekend, 16 students prepared 4 murals. Right after the first work session, the students went home for a long break, but upon returning to school in July, they chose to go back to the hospital for a second round of painting. This time went even better than the first. Their confidence about painting had increased, and their role in the community took on new life. Indigenous knowledge, systems, and practices is often dismissed as old-fashioned or unnecessary, especially at their own technical university. But these students soon felt an increased level of respect based on their success at Jolo. They noticed that their project and time management skills had improved. It's notable that the number of paintings that students completed jumped from 4 in the first session to 13 refreshed murals in the second 3-day work period. They also noticed that their project and time management skills had improved. With each painting, their command of the materials and processes necessary October of that same year, we traveled back to the site to review the projects together, especially noting any changes in the paint quality due to weathering so that they could be better prepared for future projects. It was also a time to reflect on the value of art in society. The students noted a few important qualities, such as how visual communication can simplify complex information. They noted the murals helped with memory retention, as strong visuals can leave a lasting impression on the viewer, especially in a region with only about 60% of the population being literate. Art has the power to encourage changes in behavior. This mural instructs women to breastfeed for at least 6 months and to not feed too much water to the baby during that period. The students noted the emotional engagement viewers feel, humanizing health issues. They were exploring technical skills of shading and changes in value to give a more realistic look to the mother figure, and suggesting the love she feels for her new baby. Cultural relevance is important in designing any communication piece, including the use of Malawi's main native language, Chachua, which actually 16 or 17 dialects there, as opposed to English, which was forced on them through colonization by the British. Finally, art can challenge stereotypes and stigmas surrounding health. Raising children is considered only women's work in Malawi, and you can see from this example that a father figure is intentionally included to encourage a strong family structure as mothers are breastfeeding and raising small children. I'm so proud of the students for the 17 murals that they completed at the Dolo District Hospital, and have been even more impressed where they have taken the project since. I returned to Malawi this summer with a student group from Virginia Tech, and this time the MUS students were in a leadership role, advising my students who had never painted in this way at all. At the end of the session, a couple of the MUS students took the remaining supplies home to their villages to compose new murals. This is a painting from a small clinic in Kasungu by Edgar Bolame, showing the importance of 6 youth groups of Malawi to ensure proper nutrition. This is a second commission piece by Edgar at a nearby primary school for the same topic. As the new murals are being installed, the group is balancing new content with design elements and principles like lettering. Maybe you noticed Edgar cut his own stencils to bring consistency to the lettering in the second iteration. At a school in Blantyre, southern Malawi, Gift Floyd Festin led a group to repaint signage for a primary school, as well as installing several new works. Here they're showing the importance of washing your hands to reduce disease transmission before eating or after going to the bathroom. In these healthcare ones, I have to say, as an industrial designer, I was really excited when they started adding storyboards. It will increase their capacity to communicate a complicated series of events or actions to viewers, which you can imagine would be important when explaining to patients the complicated care they might receive during cancer treatments. This one started with the repair of the word library, and then they added the figure painting and topics related to reading. Before they started the next painting, I mentioned to Gift that they might be able to use stencils to lay out the work ahead of time and make sure all the content that they wanted to fit in the space would be there and would be allocated for that. Within the next workday, they came back to me with this improvement. And then back again for a third time, adding more context to the images. Wherever they paint, they attract attention. This young woman joined the group. She's a community advocate and was inspired to paint an image that was meant to reduce bullying in school. We're still having conversations about language, and I feel myself pushing them to use local dialects to ensure they aren't defaulting to English because I'm involved. Preserving regional languages is a specialty of their school, and I have no interest in disrupting that. The last round of paintings was exciting because they did some mock-ups using AI to help improve their figure painting concepts. They could utilize the tool to properly position the bodies and show the details of the face, hands, and clothes. Here's some of the painting crew, and you can see the school children in the background. We hope they see themselves in this painting and enjoy their own wellness in the future. And finally, the students felt compelled to address a serious topic that plagues their community: sexual assault. This was the first draft of the mural they designed. It had all the basics to start a conversation of safety, but we all thought, gosh, that's a lot of white space. We discussed that they could use some of the space not just to say it was wrong, but to add a call to action. During the final work session, it transitioned to this, and I would like to think it has all the components of a successful healthcare communication. Environment, for context, the school. I also appreciate the foreground and background when they added the environment. People, especially important to the school is the uniform that you can see the young person in. It connects the image to the students at the primary school. Objects. In this case, it was keep your hands off of breasts, off of rears, off of people's legs. It's important to show what it is people are interacting with. Interaction, fourth key component. It's clear from the image there's a problem, and the would-be victim is now saying no, not me. And finally, actions. In the bottom left-hand corner, if this happens to you, talk to your parents, your teachers, your church members, or the police for assistance. I'm so proud of them for tackling a challenging subject. The students are living examples that art is for all. The most heartwarming feedback we got is that the teachers in the school now had a jumping off point to discuss the challenging and often silenced topic of sexual assault. The project as a whole has been quite meaningful for all of us, both personally and professionally. It's great to see the students increase their knowledge of materials and processes related to art and design. We all furthered our deep listening skills, which is absolutely critical when trying to deploy new healthcare treatments, especially across cultures and power structures. The students noted the impact on the hospital community, the new respect that the Indigenous Knowledge Program is achieving at their mostly tech-based school, and the improved wellness in their communities as they continue to generate new work. This experience solidified for the students that their understanding of Indigenous knowledge systems and practices could be a bridge between technical healthcare and the people who need it most. They are specialists in bringing cultural sensitivity to the table during the design phase of any project. I'm grateful for the lasting partnerships that have led to new opportunities for this amazing group of humans. And I'd like to end by thanking the student group and allowing for stepping into your future with bravery and compassion. We celebrate you, especially lead authors, Victor Komondo, Alexander Pelvin Hasulu, and all the team members, Precious Mavea, Jonas Hasulu, Chimwewe John Molezi, Anastasia Mwani, Labani Makula, Gift Foy Feston, Paul Molezi, Zema Mangawa, Edward Balame, Lovemore Mangani, Josh Butupo, Kenneth Lawira, Kumakani Abre, Lance Jesu Chisale, and instructor Clemens Nicole. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. And I kind of found a lot of parallels to our rural spaces as well, where you do not have the traditional, signages, where you do not have access to a lot of materials, to be handed out. And what I liked about your project was also involving the local young people, because they were also able to articulate the issues which were important to them. So that participatory nature of work and using something as simple as a wall to communicate major issues, because women's health is something which is neglected. You talked about taboos, which you talked about neonatal care, where they do not take the child out or they do not go to the doctor for the first 3 or 6 months because of the evil eye. These are similar taboos which exist even in rural India, where first 3 months do not tell anyone that you are pregnant, so you do not go to a healthcare worker. So I found, these kind of interventions could be very, very powerful in rural communities, and kudos to the entire team. I would like to take questions or any observations from all of you.
Thank you so much. Very meaningful project. And I have a question, maybe I missed it, sorry for that. You said that on purpose you select the walls and murals because they are non-removable, right? So are you following these walls, and when did you finish the project? I missed that part. And are there any intervention on these walls, or are they still there? I really wonder.
Thank you so much for that question. Yes, so the project started with interior and exterior walls at the Cholo District Hospital. We had originally begun repairing murals. I had originally asked to go ahead and start painting in the cervical cancer ward, and they looked at me and said, no. Who are you? What are you doing here? And so I listened to that, and one of the main feedback from the hospital was, we have murals already that are in such disrepair people can't read them. Can't you help us there? And I said yes. And I also thought, when I first was conceiving the cervical cancer murals, if you look back at my clinic scene, there's a sheet of paper that's about 8.5 by 11 on the wall that is meant to explain what cervical cancer is, what pap smears are, and what you do once you're treated. It's impossible. It's an impossible situation. And so I thought, oh yeah, I'll just take Virginia Tech students there, and we'll paint, we'll paint the procedure, we'll do our storyboards, we'll get it up in a week, and we'll get out. My kids will learn so much. And my partners there, that wasn't what they were saying. They were saying, we already have things that are working. Help us from ground zero. And then my partners at Musk were saying, in conversation with what I do at Virginia Tech, which is a lot of professional development for my students, career placement, internship program, things like that, the school was really interested in that. And I thought I could have an experience with students at Virginia Tech who could actually probably afford to go anywhere in the world to do anything that they want. And I might have better outcomes if I provide my knowledge about professional development and community service to a set of students who haven't yet had that opportunity. And so at the time I had just met these students as first years in a pottery class the first time I went, the first time I saw that hospital, and now we've been back 5 times since then. So the murals are still in great shape. I think I mentioned we had done a review, and in this one you can actually see, if you notice her shirt, the orange, which is actually a really unstable color if you understand chemistry, was the least stable of the colors that they had used in the repainting of the murals. And so that was something on this last visit when I did take the Virginia Tech students, and these students were in a leadership role. We purchased different paint and repainted the part that wasn't working. And that was important for students in Malawi because they're continuing to paint, and I want them to know trusted stores, trusted materials, certainly all of the color mixing to get the huge range of images that they're working for. And I would say the nutrition ones that had the different food groups were pretty complicated paintings, painting the different food types. They're pretty detailed, and so that was really exciting. So the murals are looking great. I'm hoping they'll last another 10 years, 20 years. The weather is kind of intense there, so the idea is that we keep up with that project. What has been wonderful is that the hospital has now invited us back 3 times to continue to repair murals across the campus. So I think I hope I answered your question.
Thank you very much for your lovely project and your presentation. It's very nice to know that you are working in local communities. And my question is, I know that you repaired these murals,
but since you are preparing, you are not able to create a new visual communication, let's say, new graphics, a new way of not only for text but also for image. So my question is, maybe can be your next project.
All of the nutrition ones and everything that happened at the primary school was new. Those were all originally conceived by the students. The word library was the only thing that they were really fusing over at the primary school, but all of the nutrition ones, all of the washing of hands, all of that was designed by the students.
Okay, so in that case, I have another question.
Yes.
How, because we only saw the results, how was the process of designing the food, every single element on that walls?
Thank you for that question. I wish the students were here. Some of that information came from their studies in Indigenous knowledge systems and practices. One of the reasons that they were really excited about the nutrition was that they had been studying that in school as a part of how to support community development. So they were originally inspired by their own studies, and then from that did design research, collected images and samples from across Malawi, and then what I was able to provide was samples. So we have a pretty robust WhatsApp group, and so I'm sending them images of environmental graphics from wherever I go. And so they're seeing references to large-scale work that has different changes in values. A lot of the mural work in Malawi is more illustrative with single colors without gradients inside of like clothes and things like that. So when they started painting, with the technique of chiaroscuro on the figures, that was kind of new and different to that space. And then we also looked a lot at, I sent a lot of images for them to reference because of religious art. There's so many storytelling components, really complicated stories in a lot of our religious structures across the world where you're seeing these like individual scenes of what is happening. So from that, learning how to frame, learning how to create focal point, how to add captions in this scenario, which isn't necessarily true in some, inside of churches or in the temples here, there it's fully pictorial without very much text. So those are the references that they started with. They were doing a bunch of sketching. We would send pencil sketches back and forth, and I think I mentioned, they sent me some images of people, and I can tell from their past work in class that I think those things were all AI generated. They were trying to help get their people situated. So I think they went through what I would consider a pretty normal design process of researching, sketching, and then because of the limited supplies, they're a go-for-it kind of group. I mean, if you only get one bucket of paint, make it work.
So the scale, for instance, of the designs was first maybe small and then big.
Yes, they jumped from a sketchbook size to large scale with nothing in between.
So maybe the next project for you is to propose new murals, not only restore.
Correct. Yes, I
I
expect that from this group there will be a number of them that start their own creative art businesses upon graduation this year.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And I just had one small question was, did you get any feedback from the hospital as in the communication and the receiver? Did that connect actually happen and it can help people? So yeah, you did mention that.
Yeah, we one of the things that we discussed after the first painting sessions, as students, they were learning the difference between qualitative and quantitative research. And so we split it up into two areas. The first set of questions, we had qualitative research directed towards the hospital. The hospital definitely gave feedback about technique. They actually got really nervous about the shading on the bodies because they weren't used to it. And so the other thing that is important about the hospital setting or doing anything in healthcare is that we need any messages we put out have to be approved by the Ministry of Health in Malawi. And so adhering to those standards was also something that we discussed. And then they also were looking at the entire sort of feeling of whether or not the hospital was operational. When things feel run down, it's hard to have confidence in where you're getting healthcare. And so those are the things that we were interviewing them. The quantitative research actually came with the students because this was a professional development program. I ran them through a series of surveys to figure out how they were doing, what were they struggling with, what were they excited about, and that really revealed that they were feeling really good about art, they were feeling good about the hand skills, but they weren't feeling good about things like digital skills and the addition of these other pieces. And so the technical writing was definitely a component of that professional development. And so from that, what we did is said, okay, not everyone got enough technical writing because only one person really turned, they all put in their ideas, but only one person was sitting at the keyboard when that first proposal went out. And so after that survey, we had them all do resumes. So each of the students had to write their own technical resume, and then they got in groups of 4 and started business plans, which is why I know that they want to start art businesses. And so that qualitative research helped us direct where they're going, and that's like one of the reasons we're here today. They wanted to be better at presenting, be better at writing, and so they've been lead authors and partners on all the presentations that we're doing. 2 would be here if their government was more compliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your attention and your interesting questions. And we would like to close the session and thank all the speakers for their insight.